bought 6 copies of these in all different colors because I really love this band.
What it means to being straight edge is you drink no alcohol, you do no drugs of any sort, you can't have promiscuous sex, and of course you can't smoke cigarettes.
I don't accept it as a movement. Doesn't mean that people who do, I think, are dumb or wrong, or it just means that I see people as people. It was always, in my mind, celebration of an individual's right to choose his or her life, like way of living. Problem with movements is that movements start to lose, I think, quite often sight of humanity, like human beings, individuals.
And the kids I went to school in Connecticut, and I just wanted to be different than all these kids, and all the kids were really into partying. And whenever they were like, they were into partying and rock and roll and, crappy metal and crappy 70s acid rock and Led Zeppelin and AC/DC, and I hated all that shit.
And I think in straight edge, people who really pushed the idea of a movement, especially a militant movement, really lost sight of human beings.
I think it's a really deeply personal decision that you have to make for yourself. The reason that I am straight edge is out of a sense of self-preservation. I think I reached a point in my own life where I realized that my relationship to alcohol in particular was it was just becoming dangerously unhealthy. I was becoming very reckless in my behavior when I was drunk. I was alienating a lot of people that I cared about. To sum it up, I just hit a low point and looked at my life and said, I've got to make a change or it's only going to get worse from here on out.
I got my first tattoos ever were straight edge tattoos.
I think given how much time I feel like I wasted in the first chunk of my 20s, I feel like I have some catching up to do. I don't know where I'm going from here, but straight edge is going to help me get there.
And the more I got into punk, the more I realized that these punks are a bunch of dirtbag, drug-taking, smokers, drinkers. They're worse than the guys in high school.
I think people, it's like they're living in a movie. They just don't think anything is real. But shit is real.
So I came into it as an alternative, and then I realized that these hardcore guys, they're just as bad, if not worse.
I think people, it's like they're living in a movie. They just don't think anything is real.
I mean, when I was going into the hardcore scene in New York City, they weren't drinking keg. Like at high school, the big cool thing was you get a keg and you set it up and you have a keg party and you invite all your friends and the football team shows up and then the cheerleaders show up and then you're pumping out beers and drinking beers and then you take the beer like this and you poke a hole and you call that a shotgun. You shotgun the brew down, and I thought that was just stupid.
There's a lot of other subgenres of straight edge, like there's hardline and there's straight edge where I don't know, there's like an elite point of straight edge where a lot of people don't associate with other people that don't drink or do drugs. They stay in this close knit of people who are only straight edge or live a sober lifestyle just to keep things pure. But to me personally, I don't mind hanging around people that do drugs or drink.
I remember once getting out of a car. I've been driving, Fugazi was playing, and got out of the car at a gig. I was doing all the driving. I'd driven like 6 hours. We got to this gig and this really young kid ran up to me. And I had some iced tea or something. And he ran up to me and he said, this is the first person who talked to me. He said, whoa, you're drinking iced tea? I said, yeah. It was like this unsweetened iced tea. And yeah. He was like, well, my friend says caffeine's a drug. I said, oh, tell your friend, fuck you.
And And so the spring of 2007, I booked this band called Punch. They're from San Francisco. All the members were straight edge and vegan. And at the time, I was just like, what? Like an all vegan straight edge hardcore band? Like what? Does this exist?
I feel like some of the things about someone that might lead them to be straight edge or vegan would also possibly lead them to the other as well, because they both are related to taking care of oneself as best as one could most of the time. It also a lot of times is related to not supporting industries that you don't support and whose politics you don't agree with.
Another important meaning of straight edge to me would be trying to resist peer pressure. I just think that if there's something you don't want to do, then you shouldn't have to do it.
I didn't like being intoxicated. I didn't like wasting money on it. I didn't like feeling not well. I didn't like supporting businesses that profit off like people, like sometimes depending on the person, like ruining their lives. I play bass in Neocons. I play bass in a Gorilla Biscuits tribute band called Girl Illa Biscuits.
A huge part of the reason a lot of people become straight edge, at least that's the reason a lot of people continue to be straight edge, is because they're hypercritical of everything that's around them. They're questioning constantly the motives of themselves and everyone around them for their actions.
To me, it's mainly about music, but like punk music or whatever is like definitely like the mainstay of my life.
Hardcore punk was the reason why straight edge was like popularized, but at the same time exposed and created.